Congratulations from USC, Office of the President. Dear Shamel, this is Carol Folt, the president of USC. It was wonderful to see the Emmy nominations for Lessons in Chemistry. Such well deserved recognition for you and your colleagues. I understand your input as a producer and cultural consultant was invaluable to the cast and crew, especially in grounding the stories of Black families living in 1950s Los Angeles. Your USC family sends its warm wishes for Emmy night. All the best, Carol. Wow. So I got this email like a week ago, and I can't believe I received an email from the president of my favorite university who helped me when I was sick, paid for my medication and hospital bills. It had an entire meeting with my scholarship directors, my doctor, some deans, to figure out how I would graduate. After backstory, I transferred to USC from UC Santa Barbara because I had a autoimmune disease and I was on Medi-Cal with my mother and would have to drive from Santa Barbara to Los Angeles so that they would take my insurance for my specialist that I had to see quite often. So, they were like, well, why don't you apply to USC? It's around the corner from your house. So I applied to USC months after the deadline, appealed, actually didn't even think I was going to get in. Went to, during the summer school, something just told me I took Spanish and English during summer school and met at Trade Tech. I think it was the honors department. I'm not sure, but someone connected me with Casey Majay, and I had just told them I actually didn't get in initially, but I told them that I had gotten into LMU, and he gave me a call back and said, I want to be the first to congratulate you as a USC Trojan. Apparently, what I needed to be accepted was Spanish and English, that I wouldn't be behind. And I was able to get the Norman Topping Scholarship as well as become a part of the Scholars Program because I was from the neighborhood. Grew up not too far around the corner. So, so this idea that I got to USC and I wasn't even eligible for a medical leave of absence before I got sick. And went into the hospital. Now I had USC's insurance, so I went into a USC hospital and had this amazing professor of theater, Dr. Nicole Pursley, Nicole Hodges Pursley, and I remember how she would encourage me on my responses and say that I was brilliant, and I believe she may have contacted my scholarship program, and because I wasn't eligible for a medical leave of absence, and they actually got together a meeting. Details are a little bit blurry because it was so long ago, but I'll never forget the leadership of Dr. Casey Majay and the Scholars Program, as well as the Norman Topping Student Aid Fund. It was Desiree and then Christina that had my back, as well as my doctor. I know my doctor was in that meeting, Lori Walker, and then I remember people like Lynette Merriman and Kirk Brennan was just around the cipher of the question was, how can we get you to graduate? Now, this is nothing but God's grace. I would have to take a medical leave, they said, and get on SSI, but they would allow me to reapply and return to USC to finish my degree. And when I returned, the first class I met Dr. Robin D.G. Kelley in my first semester back, and my life absolutely changed. The first day of class, I tell this story all the time, so if you've heard it, don't worry. Uh, you'll hear it again. The first day of class, it was the African American experience, I believe. And Robin asked, like, what do you think I mean by the African American experience? And here I am, nervous. I'm a first generation, like, to like go in my immediate family, like to finish high school, go to college. Get into college. And I'm like, I begin by saying all I learned in UC Santa Barbara's Black Studies department, where I had transferred, due to needing to be back in Los Angeles. And it was just difficult traveling, to see the specialists and stuff like that for my autoimmune disease. So, but I learned so much in the Black Studies department. So I answered Robin Kelley's question in a way, like using these terms like turning hegemony on its head and, racism is endemic to society. Basically all that I remember from my semi-photographic memory and from my classes at UC Santa Barbara. So shout out to UC Santa Barbara Black Studies. I loved Ingrid Banks and Professor Johnson and all types of just amazing folks there. So Robin stops me. He looks to the class and he's like, do not plagiarize. I've read every book. And then I was like, is he saying I'm just talking? So I obviously didn't plagiarize, but I did read these books. And he looked over at me and told me, like, you've read George Lipsitz. Like, he told me who I read based on like my line of thinking. And I thought I was in trouble. Like, I really just was taken aback. And so, he later talked to me and I told him, he's like, where'd you learn those things? And, I had a class with his mentor, Cedric Robinson. I had a class with George Lipsitz. And, but anyway, why is this so important? So, Robin Kelley is the reason why I even have a PhD, and also is the reason why I'm an Emmy nominated producer right now. So if students didn't do a presentation on Crump in that class, and I was in the documentary Rise, then Robin would not have pretty much told me, like, I wrote a letter of recommendation for both McNair Scholars and Mellon Mays, and you should get a PhD. I was going to law school, but him telling me that I can get a free master's degree is what sold me. Anytime you can tell me I can get a sale or anything for free, I'm getting it, I'm on it, I'm with it. Anyway, I say all of this to say, what I learned, I ended up taking like almost all of Robin Kelley's classes after that. And what I learned in those classes about Los Angeles, Black Los Angeles, reading Daniel Widener's Black Arts West, and just understanding the USC master plan, and then understanding the Figueroa corridor, like everything that I learned as far as like the background. And then also I worked with Laura Polito on the history of Los Angeles as well, for the People's Guide. I did some research for her, but just like what I learned at USC got me the knowledge that I would be able to pour out into being a consultant on lessons in chemistry. And I want to say shout out to my amazing student from Dartmouth, Marina, who was a PA, and they needed some historical consulting, and she was like, you need Dr. Bell. And so immediately I call Robin Kelley and I try to get Robin to do it, and then I try to get Daniel Wider to do it. I'm like, Los Angeles, like, they taught me, but they wanted a woman and they wanted me. And so that was also a message. Like, I was trying to pass it off because I didn't feel like I was enough, right? But it just came out like a channeling. It was just such a beautiful process. And shout out to everyone involved involved in lessons in chemistry, and Asia Naomi King and she became my bestie. And, you know, I just wanted to have this blog, vlog as, a thank you to Marina, just having a relationship with your students. Like, I love teaching, and, I'm just grateful that I'm able to be myself authentically in all these spaces. And so my student, you know, is able to, recommend me because we do life together. And then I'm able to use the knowledge of, the ideas that I learned in Robin Kelley's class about, Sugar Hill, about freeways, and, I read City of Quartz by Mike Davis, and, all of these things that got me to just say, hey, obsession with the word blighted, like all of these different types of things. I'm just really, really grateful to Alyssa, um, yeah, to Natalie, to Tracy, to Lee, everyone that just actually listened to me. And this idea that, they didn't erase my voice. Like, so initially, I was a cultural consultant. So when this Emmy nominations came out, I wasn't at it. I saw all the different producers, I saw all the supervising producers, because they were so just amazing at Apple TV. They saw all the ideas that they were able to put in shift with lessons in chemistry from the book. They promoted me to supervising producer, and that they wrote a letter. Shout out to Natalie and Lee, writing a letter to Apple TV to talk to the Television Academy to make sure that I wasn't erased, to make sure that I was added. And I'm just so grateful. And, one of my friends was like, you need to ask them to add your name. And at first I was just, I'm just happy to be a part. And, I know that I had a hand in it. And, the scene that was really important to me with the freeway, like, was, the director was then nominated as well. Asia Naomi King was nominated. So I was just happy. But also a part of me had this feeling like, sometimes I do feel passed over, or, those types of things. But Apple TV, paid my membership fees to the Television Academy, like, just really took care of me. And, I don't know what this rambling is, but it is a part of me wanting to stop hiding and to want to be seen. And people do not know my story. They don't know that I've known, been involved in the entertainment industry since I was walking. Since I began to walk, since I was a toddler, from being a childhood beauty queen to dancing, choreographing, modeling, to meeting my God family, George and Marcia Tillman, and working on scripts with George, and constantly giving notes. And when I was younger, to, working in casting with Anissa Williams Casting, to, being in, documentary Rise, or,